Okay, so last week has been pretty interesting. There was the announcement of the hire purchase amendment map of 2025, and then very quickly followed by the tabling of the 2026 budget on Friday. So there were a few items in the budget that related to car buying and selling, and I just want to use this video to unpack a few of these items and share with you what I believe would be the possible impact of these announcements to the car industry. Now, do take note, however, this was just the tabling of the budget. Parliament still has to debate it before it gets approved. There may be some changes and amendments along the way, but let's assume that whatever that was tabled is passed, and moving forward, that will be a reality. What does it mean for us? There were a few items there. The first one that comes to my mind, of course, is the CBU EVs will no longer get tax exemptions. It means that next year, CBU EVs will be taxed. Okay, and this, of course, would lead to significant price increase for many of these models. Now, how it would impact the market? Well, in the short term, there will be a rush to pick up all the unsold units. Okay, and this is where if you're going to come and ask me, hey, can get discount or not, there will be no discount. The salesman will instead be asking you, you want or not? Take it or leave it. If you don't want, somebody else is ready to snap them up. Now, how would that impact resale values of these EVs? Well, it will probably hold the values up a bit, but in the long term, you are still looking at a faster rate of depreciation for EVs than it would be with petrol cars. This is something that cannot be avoided. There is no way around it. However you look at it, EVs will depreciate faster than a petrol car simply because as the EV ages, the likelihood of the battery or electronic components requiring expensive repair or replacement, the risk goes up, the value of the car accordingly comes down. So you can't run away from that. But in the short term, right, those of you who have bought the pre-tax CBU EVs, you probably can expect a better holding of your resale value of your cars. Okay, so that's about CBU EVs. Now, the other one that was mentioned but not many details given is lemon law protection. So what this would mean is that if you bought a car and it is turned out to be massively defective, you probably can get a refund. But once again, the statement that came out only mentions lemon law, but how that lemon law will be implemented, what are the specifics and all that, that is not clear yet. So there's still many things to unpack from that. There's still many things to follow up on that before we can comment any further. But this is another big win for consumers, because if you buy a new car, you get more peace of mind, because if, let's say, the repairs of the car becomes too substantial, there's now the possibility that you can actually bank table to the manufacturer and demand that they buy back your car. Now, of course, there will still be processes in place to ensure that you don't abuse this process, and the car makers will put all sorts of clauses to protect themselves, but the possibility of getting a full refund on a defective car is now become higher. All right, there is now better protection for the consumers, and that in the long run is a good thing. Now, another big one, of course, those of you who have parked your million ringgit sports cars in Langkawi, well, party's over. All right, of course, those of you who have already bought in the past and you have parked there, you are basically there. The government is not going to come back chasing you for tax. But moving forward, if the car that you are buying, the pre-tax value is more than 300,000 ringgit, parking it in Langkawi will no longer have a difference. You still pay full duties. What this would mean is that the government, of course, obviously is doing this for the purpose of recouping more tax revenue. Because let's put it this way, right? When somebody buys 911 Turbo S, a Lamborghini, a Ferrari, all right, and they park their car in Langkawi, right, the government is missing out on a large chunk of duties. So it is perfectly understandable that the government wants to recoup back, wants to stop this leakage of revenue. And the thing is, this is something that for me, I've never been a very big thing about the whole Langkawi duty free, not out of spite, not out of any anger, but I'm just imagining if I were to buy a car, I want my cars to be beside me, right? And not stored hundreds of kilometers away where I can only use for 3 months in a year. But the flip side of that equation also is that I know of friends who have bought cars parked in Langkawi, and this scheme has allowed them to enjoy cars that they otherwise would not have been able to afford, right? Now, one aspect of the equation that not a lot of people have talked about is that there is a whole industry in Langkawi that is built on housing all these duty-free cars. Start with the warehouses. Warehousing in Langkawi is good business. All these cars parked there, it's recurring income for the warehouse owners. And all these warehouse owners, of course, employ people there to take care of their cars. Now, not only that, all these cars that are stored up there, right, every year they will be shipped back to Peninsula for 3 months where the owners get to drive them and ship back. So there's a whole supply chain of people that's dedicated in providing this service, housing these cars, bringing these cars back and forth Peninsula Malaysia, all right, and then you maybe even shipping it to your door. Now, these people, livelihood in 3 to 5 years' time will be severely affected. Now, then also about the Langkawi domestic economy. Now, I'm not sure how big of an impact this would be, but I know there are people who park their cars in Langkawi and once a year, twice a year, they would fly in, spend a few days at a hotel and just drive the cars that they bought around, right? And to enjoy their cars. And these being wealthy people, right? Every time when they travel, they bring a lot of money, they bring a lot of spending in the Langkawi tourist economy. Now, how badly will this affect Langkawi's tourist economy? I can't accurately predict, but I believe there may be an impact. Now, on to the one announcement that I think will have the biggest impact to regular people is that those of you with cars more than 20 years old, and if you are thinking of buying a new Proton or Perodua, well, the government will practically double your car's scrap value up to a maximum of 4,000 ringgit. So what this means, right? So it means that you take your old beat up junk to the Perodua dealership and say, I want to buy an Activa. The dealer offer you a scrap value of, let's say, 2,500 ringgit. Government will top up another 2,500 ringgit, so you now have 5,000 ringgit to put into down payment for your next car. If they tell you that, oh, your car scrap value is 4,000, government will top up another 4,000 into your car. If it is, but if let's say if they say your scrap value is 6,000, let's say, government will only top up to a maximum of 4,000 ringgit. Now, it is important to note that this, from my understanding at least, this is not money in your pocket. This goes to the payment for your next car, which means that you're using your old, unused, unfit car as leverage to buy your next car. But what you will not get is change of money back in your pocket, all right? So the thing is, who this would benefit would be people who have an unused car and they still can afford the payments for another car. Who this will not benefit are those who are in the hardcore poor. They have a car that is barely fit for the road, but even if you put 8,000 ringgit into their pocket, they still can't afford the payments for their next car anyways. But this is the really, really hardcore poor. But what this will do is that for those of you who are in the borderline where you actually have the monthly income, but you are struggling to put together a down payment, this is your opportunity to move from your old car that's falling apart into something maybe not luxurious, but into something basic, something like an Axia or a Saga, where you can put immediately 8,000 ringgit as a down payment, all right, and pay the minimum installments while you get back on your feet. Now, and this ties back to what I have always been advocating. If you have to take a loan to buy a car, put a big enough down payment to cover the first 2 years of your car's depreciation. And the good news here is that with cars like Myvis and Axias, generally these cars are able to hold their resale value. They actually depreciate less than 8,000 after 2 years. So in this sense, this would help, because what this means is that, right, let's just say that you are right now on the borderline. You have this car that is breaking down, you can't afford to buy another car, but you need to move into something else. Go to a Pro Duo dealership, buy the cheapest thing that's in the showroom. And what this means is that if, let's say, along the way, things still do not improve at any point in time, you still have the option of selling your car. And this is something that I would say it's a very, very good initiative. Okay, it will not benefit everybody, but I believe it will benefit a large chunk of people. Now, what some people are a bit emotional about is that these are the people who are saying, oh yeah, my old car is better than all these new crap that they produce on the road. See, the thing is that, right, if you are in a position to say that, this grant is not for you, all right? Like, as somebody who's driving a 20-year-old BMW E39, this grant is not for me. You tell me to take my car, go and sell this and get an Axia, I will hit you in the head, right? Because if I were to put this car in the market today, I would put it for nothing less than 30 or 35,000 ringgit. So if you are to tell me that my car, I only get 8,000 back to put into an Axia, I would say, sorry, no, that's not for me. And the fact of the matter is, the government did not create this grant for people like me. It is created for people whose cars are, I would say, need to be put out of their misery. But at the same time, they are struggling to get themselves into the next car. This is a very good initiative for these people. It is not for you if, let's say, you have a beautiful 20, 30-year-old classic that's still running. That is not for you. Don't get emotional about that. So, anyways, that's all I have to say for the budget of 2026. Do let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. All right, I'm particularly curious to hear from you if you are one of those with a car more than 20 years old, and this is a scheme that actually would help you, right? That would actually help you. I'm curious to hear from you in the comment section. Let me know what you think. And on the subject of selling your cars, right? If you have something that's worth a bit more than 8,000 ringgit, and you want to sell it and you want to get back at least 85 to 90% of your car's market value and have someone else do all the work for you, fill in the form in the description section below, and my team will be in touch to help you with solutions where we sell the car on your behalf. All right. But that's it from me today. Until my next video, take care, stay safe. I'll see you soon.